Hello, this is Jacob again, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on these two movies, and my thoughts are the opposite of what a lot of people think. These are two movies that a lot of people seem to hate with a burning passion. The movies I'm talking about, of course, are Biodome and The Master of Disguise. Yeah, a lot of people seem to really hate these movies, and to be honest, I actually kind of like both of them. Yeah, if I hated these movies, this video most likely wouldn't exist. So yeah, keep in mind that people hate these movies. Even the Nostalgia Critic also bashed on these movies in a couple of his reviews. First, let's talk about Biodome. So it was released in 1996, and it stars Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin, who are also on this picture you're looking at. So, in the movie, there's these two dumb idiot guys, played by Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin, named Squirrel and Doyle, I think. And in the movie, they're just doing a couple of dumb things, and then they think that they're going to the mall when really they end up at this biodome that these scientists are using to try and grow these plants for a year, and they can't get out of the biodome for a year for some reason. And then Squirrel and Doyle enter there, and around the scientists they act kind of annoying. And then they end up finding a way out of the biodome, which the Nostalgia Critic pointed out was a plot hole. Anyway, then they invite people to go have a party in there, and then they end up messing it up, and then their girlfriends tell them that they messed it up, and then they eventually end up cleaning it up, and then one of the scientists goes mad and tries to kill them, but then he fails and stuff. Yeah, I just summed up the plot in a nutshell. Yeah, the thing is, people tend to think that Squirrel and Doyle are really annoying. I think they were only meant to annoy the scientists and some other characters in the movie, and that the audience were meant to think of them as funny, because I think the movie is supposed to be a stoner comedy. Well, I don't think they're annoying. I was never annoyed by Squirrel and Doyle. In fact, there's quite a lot of things that people find annoying that I don't think are annoying. Some examples I can give are the annoying orange, Slippy Toad from Star Fox 64 and the 3DS remake, Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, depending on the person, and so on and so forth. The point is, these two annoyed some people, a lot of people actually, and I wasn't annoyed. If I could find a problem with Biodome, though, and I only have, one minor problem, and that's, when the scientists are trying to get out of the Biodome after what Squirrel and Doyle did when they ruined it after that party, then Doyle locks that place that they got out of, and he swallows the key, and then later on, some guy, finds out that they have the key. It's like, you have the key, give me the key. And what happens after that? Well, let's just say that we see a little bit more of Stephen Baldwin's body than we should. That's the only problem I have with the movie. Other than that, I have no problems. Of course, if any of you are watching this are parents and are sensitive about what your kids watch, and maybe you'd like to see Biodome, well, I think this movie is kind of adult-ish. I mean, it's probably a PG-13 rated movie. Or maybe I read that it was a PG movie back when I saw it some time ago. But I think it deserves a PG-13, if it's not a PG, because I did hear some swearing in it, and the thing I mentioned earlier about what the only problem I had with the movie, and some other things like that kind of make it a PG-13-ish movie. So yeah, I kind of do like Biodome. Now let's talk about the second movie that I came here to talk about, and that's The Master of Disguise, which was released in 2002. Okay, so I was younger than 10 when I saw this movie, when I was a younger kid, and I got it on DVD. And my parents and I actually liked this movie. In fact, I remember that my dad told me that he thought the movie was hilarious. Okay, so in The Master of Disguise, you have the main character, Pistachio Disguise, played by Dana Carvey. In his family, they are known as being masters of disguise, and in the opening narration it says that, they began to practice the magical art of disguise. And since, they can change their looks, and they can change their voices, and, hence their name, Masters of Disguise. So in the movie, he's just working as a cook in his dad's restaurant, and then eventually both his parents get kidnapped, and then his grandpa comes and tries to help him learn how to be a master of disguise, since his dad tried to keep it a secret from him. And then he eventually does master it, and then he gets an assistant, and throughout the movie he does have some disguises, like a turtle man, Gammy Num Nums, a cherry pie man, Terry Suave, a British guy. And also, a couple of his disguises are of celebrities that Dana Carvey himself can do impressions of. Like Al Pacino, specifically as Scarface, Robert Shaw, specifically as Quint from Jaws, and George W. Bush. And the difference between that is that Dana Carvey is doing impressions, and that when his dad is doing the Master of Disguise, when he's doing all the disguises that the main villain, Devlin Bowman, is making him do, they actually have other people doing it instead of, James Brolin isn't doing any impressions. They're just getting other people like Michael Jordan and Jessica Simpson, I think. So that's the only difference I can think of between, how it's like, James Brolin's being a Master of Disguise and Dana Carvey is playing a Pistachio as a Master of Disguise. Both these movies have really low ratings on Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, Biodome has a 5% rating, and Master of Disguise has a 1% rating. On the tomato meters, at least. I really don't get why people hate these two movies so much. I mean, I saw Biodome pretty much like almost a year ago sometime, and I saw Master of Disguise when I was a lot younger, and I do like them. I don't get why people hate them so much. I don't follow the reasons that people think these are bad movies. Even the Nostalgia Critic, like I said earlier, I do kind of like them. So those are my thoughts on Biodome and The Master of Disguise. Also, Master of Disguise is definitely more kid-friendly than Biodome. Anyway, this is Jacob, signing off.